Oh, well, thank you. I did not realize Gail was absent, and I'm running this meeting.
Hey, Victoria, just so you know, Gail's not going to be at the meeting, so if you could run that, we'd appreciate it.
Not a problem. All right, looks like we have a quorum. I will call this meeting to order. And if somebody could pull up the agenda, I would really appreciate that.
And Jake, Jared's got it called up now. Can you see it from where you're at?
You are not sharing this. Oh, I do see it now. Okay, just popped up. Okay, I will take a motion to approve the agenda unless there are any changes.
This is Allison. I will go ahead and motion that.
Thank you, Allison.
This is Abba. I second.
Thank you, Abba. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And any opposing? Okay, that passes unanimously. Jared, do we have any public comments?
Madam Chair, we did not receive any advance requests for public comment. I will ask anyone who is online to please use the raise hand function if they'd like to provide a public comment. And if anyone's in the room, to please go up to the podium at this time. And I see no virtual hands raised, and I see no one clamoring for the podium. So I think we can move forward at your discretion.
Very good, thank you. Does anybody have comments on the meeting minutes that were provided? Okay, hearing silence, I'll take a motion.
This is Todd. I'll approve the motion.
Thank you, Todd.
This is Allison. I'd like to second that emotion.
Thank you, Allison. Appreciate that.
I feel a Motown song coming on.
All of those in agreement with that, please say yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
And any nays? Sounds like none. Sounds like that passes unanimously.
And then Jared's scrolling down. So there's your next item 5 there.
And John, I will pass that to you, Board of Directors report.
And I will pass that to Danelle.
Thank you. So we had a few transportation related items at the November board meeting. Our UPWP, that's our Unified Planning Work Program, was approved on the consent agenda. The active transportation plan was adopted after a presentation from Jason O'Brien. We did give them an update on the long range transportation plan, and we provided those first 6 chapters to them for review and kind of gave them just a status update. And then we also had a presentation on the annual safety target setting, just for information at this time. You guys will actually get that presentation later in this meeting. And any questions, happy to answer them. Otherwise, I think that's about it.
Okay, hearing no questions. Thank you, Danelle. So on to electing officers for the 2025 year. I know I have already been arm wrestled and hamstrung into nominating myself to be the chair. So unless there is anybody who would love to take the position more than me, which really wouldn't take much, I'd be happy to let somebody else have it. Do I have any other nominations for chair? Well, darn it, this is the one time I didn't want to hear silence. And then for our first chair, Todd, remind me, did Gail say she would be first chair?
Yes, I've been instructed to nominate Gail as first chair.
Thank you for that nomination. Appreciate it. Does anybody have nominations for the second vice chair?
Victoria, I will volunteer to be nominated as the second vice chair.
Thank you so much, Ava. That's terrific. Anybody else for second vice chair? Silence again. Thank you, Abba. Okay, so we have a slate. Let's just take that all as one vote. Victoria Chavez for the chair, Gail Sturdivant for the vice chair, and Abba as our second vice chair. If everybody's in agreement with that, I will take a motion.
I will motion that we accept that slate of candidates as described by Victoria.
Thank you, Todd. And a second?
I would like to second that motion. This is Allison.
Thank you, Allison. Okay, all those in favor of this, please say aye. And anybody opposing? Sounds like a unanimous pass. Thank you, everybody, for participating in that, and Alba, especially you for stepping up. We appreciate it.
Sure, thank you.
All right, our next item on the agenda, I think, is from CDOT. Is that correct?
Yes, we have Jacob Kirschner here from CDOT virtually to present the infrastructure condition and system performance target setting.
Great, welcome.
Good afternoon. Are you ready for me to jump in?
Jump away.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Awesome. Good afternoon. My name is Jacob Kirschner, and I'm the Performance Program Manager at CDOT. Today, I will be discussing the national performance measures with a focus on the mid-performance period report. We will review our current four-year targets, and then I will be recommending a key adjustment to our 2025 target for bridges in good condition to better align with the progress we've made so far. Next slide, please. Before jumping into the details, I do want to provide a quick background on the national performance measures. The 2021 Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act requires each state to set targets for transportation performance and report progress. State DOTs and MPOs are required to establish data-driven 2- and 4-year targets for safety, infrastructure condition, and system performance. CDOT set its targets for 2023 and 2025 back in 2022. We are now in the middle of our mid-performance period review, which allows us the opportunity to reassess and adjust those 2025 targets based on current data. In September, we worked closely with subject matter experts to review and update adjustments to our targets. We did submit those adjustments to FHWA on October 1st, 2024. For the remainder of the presentation, I'll focus on MPO responsibilities and then jump into the infrastructure condition and system performance goal areas. Next slide, please. This slide here outlines the role of MPO responsibilities. MPOs have two choices when establishing targets. They can either adopt a state target or establish their own. MPOs have 180 days from the date when the state DOT establishes its performance targets to either adopt those state targets or establish their own. With CDOT submitting their targets on October 1st, the deadline would be March 30th, 2025 for Pikes Peak to either support the state target or establish their own. Collaboration with CDOT and regional partners is key to making sure targets are consistent across the board. This coordination is critical to making sure that both statewide and regional transportation systems are moving towards the same outcomes. In 2022, Pikes Peak did support CDOT's targets for infrastructure condition, and today we'll be recommending a slight adjustment for bridges in good condition. In the following slides, I'll cover the 4-year targets and why we're recommending an adjustment to bridges in good condition. Next slide, please. This slide here has the specific targets under review. CDOT has established several targets covering pavement, bridges, and system reliability. For the 2025 target for bridges in good condition, we are recommending adjusting the target from 36% to 38.5% of bridges in good condition based on updated data. All other targets, such as pavement and system performance, will remain the same. This adjustment is supported by our latest performance data and reflects FHWA guidance, which requires establishing data-driven targets. Next slide, please. Here we'll focus on the proposed adjustment for the target regarding bridges in good condition. When we set the original target of 36% in 2022, it was based on the best available data at that time. However, since then, we have seen a positive trend in bridges in good condition, allowing us to confidently adjust that target to 38.5%. This recommendation is based on forecasts from our asset investment management system, which uses detailed infrastructure data and projections to help guide decisions. It is important to note we are only adjusting the good condition target. The bridge target for poor condition will remain at 4%. Next slide, please. This graph illustrates the condition of bridges across Colorado's national highway system since 2015. As you can see, we've experienced a decline in the percentage of bridges in good condition. This is primarily due to an aging inventory of midlife and older bridges. However, through targeted investments and preventative maintenance, we have been able to keep the number of bridges in poor condition below 4%. Moving forward, we do expect to see a gradual improvement in the number of bridges in good condition, which is why we are proposing the updated target of 38.5%. Next slide, please. This slide here focuses on the Pikes Peak area specifically. The bridge conditions here are closely aligned with the statewide trends. You can see there has been a decline of bridges in good condition. Once again, that is due to the aging inventory of midlife and older bridges. You can see here that the bridges in poor condition do remain low, based on CDOT's life cycle planning, preserving good and fair bridges while addressing poor bridges. Next slide, please. To conclude, we are asking for the Pikes Peak Transportation Advisory Committee support in adopting the state's targets for support in adopting the state's adjusted targets for bridges in good condition. This will ensure that the region aligns with CDOT's broader performance goals, which in turn supports Colorado's infrastructure needs. The PPACG Board of Directors will need to take action through a formal resolution, and we encourage you to support this adjustment. Thank you for your time today, and I'm happy to answer any questions or comments you may have.
Thank you for the presentation. Is there any questions for Jacob?
Just a quick question, Jacob. I was just curious, what factors did you because you said the data at the time that you had drove that 36%. What parameters were part of your evaluation to increase that to 38%?
Yeah, so we use our asset investment management system model to forecast future conditions. Inputs that were updated on there are considered updated budgets as well as various treatments across the state. So new projects have been entered into that system, updates to the budget, and then bridges can deteriorate at a different rate than the model forecast. And so we have seen actually a less gradual decrease in bridges in good condition, and it's actually started to increase slightly. And so based on that information, we are recommending just a slight adjustment there. And that's based on FHWA guidance to have data-driven decisions rather than just sticking with achievable targets that are necessarily not ambitious or easy to achieve.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Jacob, for your presentation. We'll look forward to voting on this next month.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Okay, next up, do we have annual safety targets with Danelle?
Yes, and similar to the last item, we have David Swenka, also from CDOT, here to present those safety targets. And again, we will be, I failed to mention on the last item that PPACG staff will be asking for our committees to support those state targets. We will be asking that again for these safety targets as well.
Great, thank you, Dave. Thank you, David, for joining us.
Yeah, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Just to introduce myself, I'm David Swenka. I'm with CDOT headquarters, Traffic Safety and Engineering Services. I'm the manager for our safety programs, data, and analysis unit, and part of our job duties in managing the Highway Safety Improvement Program is to report out our annual safety targets to FHWA, which we'll be discussing here. And in order to discuss how we got to the targets that we've established, we'll start with going over some of the trends we're seeing with fatalities and serious injuries, starting with the fatalities you see here. And you can see over the course of time, although there has been periods where there has been a few years of decrease, that the overall trend of fatalities has been going up in Colorado, peaking at 764 in 2022. This year, for 2024, we did see a decrease last year, going from 764 to 720, and it appears this year that the number will continue to decrease in 2024, and we predict that number to be, it will be probably less than 700, which is good news. Hopefully a lot less than 700, but it's kind of hard to say right now. Right now, I'd put it anywhere between 650 and 700. But that's the trend we're seeing right now for fatalities, and then we'll go on to the next graph for serious injuries. And we also see an increasing trend, but in a very different manner. It's not the jagged trend line we see for fatalities, but you see a little bit more of a plateauing effect for serious injuries, as for early in the 2010s. It was pretty even for a while, with a minor spike in 2018, but then after 2020 you see this huge increase, and another significant increase in 2023. Looking at 2024 numbers, I would say that those numbers lag a little bit more in fatalities, so it's harder to predict even at this time. But I would say that the number in 2024 probably won't be higher than 2023, but it might not be much less than the 2023 numbers. So again, these numbers are very, very high, and certainly something as a state we'd like to see much decreasing or a lower trend in. But this is a lot of the information that informs our target setting. And if we go to the next slide, we'll see the targets that we set for calendar year 2025. And this is a target that consists of a 5-year rolling average. So it's not just the 2025 numbers. It incorporates an average of the fatalities, serious injuries rates, and non-motorized fatalities and serious injuries over the course of the 5 years between 21 and 25. So there's a lot of projection analysis that goes into setting these targets of what we think will be at the end of 2024 and 2025, given the current trends. So with that, our targets we've established for calendar year 2025 is 740 fatalities with a fatality rate of 1.363. For serious injuries, we have 3,640 with a serious injury rate of 6.701. And these rates are based off of per 100 million miles vehicles traveled. And just to give everyone a sense of how that changes every year, our travel numbers generally increase about, I would say, about 2% per year. So it's, as fatalities and serious injuries are increasing, so are the volumes, but not at the same rate. The fatalities and serious injuries are much more represented, or overrepresented as far as how much things are increasing over the travel volume rates. So the travel volume, although it's part of the reason why things are increasing, there are a lot of other factors that are going into the increases. And the fifth measure is the non-motorized fatalities and serious injuries, which we have set a target of 659 for calendar year 2025. And on the right, we can see just the single calendar year 2023 numbers for comparison to those targets. Next slide, please. So similar to the targets that Jacob was going over, the MPOs have 180 days to either support the state targets or come up with their own targets. And 180 days, so we submitted these targets to FHWA at the end of August. So the 180 days would put the need by date at, I believe, February 27th of next year. So that's when FHWA will expect to have those targets from all of the MPOs. And once there's a decision made from this and a resolution, just please send us to myself and Jacob, and we'll take it from there. The last slide involves the El Paso, or not the Pikes Peak area council of governments area of fatal crashes and serious injury and crashes by year, and really you see similar trends for those as compared to the statewide. I know this area represents a pretty significant part of the state, so that's not quite so unusual that there's consistency between the statewide trends and the MPO trends. But we are seeing the same trend lines here. And again, as far as setting targets, that's how we're factoring in what we're seeing to set those targets. We'd like to be more aspirational sometimes in setting lower targets, but this is, as mentioned before, a data-driven process, and that's where we're at. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions or comments from this group.
Thank you, David. Any questions? Great. Well, thank you for your presentation. We appreciate it.
Yep. Thank you.
All right, moving on to the CDOT Regional Priority Program update.
Good afternoon, Jess Bechtel, tip planner. So this item really is a CDOT update, and it's just providing information that no new projects are being recommended or proposed for FY 2029. If you would like more information on this, CDOT's memo is included, or we have Jeff or John Hall here to talk about this. That's all. Any questions from anyone? Sorry.
Thank you, Jess.
Sure.
John, do you just want to give us a quick highlight?
Yeah, I'd be glad to. I thought Jeff was going to bail me out here, but no. Just like I can't talk, I'm going through a tunnel. The bottom line I would just say is we're not adding any more projects on 29. As you can see, there's about 7.5 million of 28 that we put on last year. By the way, if I could just point out the percentages there, 7.5 million divided by 9.5 million per year over 2 years divided by 19 million is right about just under 40%. So actually we're on track generally with the general allocation number across those 2 years. But we do have planned to go $6.5 million in 30 as well. So overall between 28, 29, and 30, we've got about 50% of the allocation planned for PPACG, which is a little bit higher than the 40%. So basically, I mean, I can certainly try to discuss a few of the projects on there, but we're not adding any money to any of them for 29. So.
Thank you. Any questions for John? Well, we'd all love to see more money. We understand where we're where we're all at, and we appreciate you sticking to close to our target. So that's great.
Thank you.
All right, now I think we are on to our long-range transportation plan update. Is that Danelle?
It is. Thank you. I can scroll down to my page. So just some status update information and also a request for the TAC members and the jurisdictions. As far as the travel demand model and the land use and the greenhouse gas rulemaking goes, we are working feverishly on getting all of this wrapped up. And we are working to get on the agenda of the Transportation Commission for December. That meeting actually happens. There would be a workshop the day before the TAC in December, and then the actual Transportation Commission meeting would be in the morning on December 19th before TAC. So hopefully we'll have very good news at the next meeting. For the LRTP document itself, there are several chapters in your packet today. They are in draft format. What I would like to do is actually send out a link for everyone with a little bit newer version, a little bit more updated materials in there for you, so that you can take a look at them. Please let me know if you have questions, if you'd like us to go over that with you. Our goal right now, and if you scroll down a little bit to that schedule, it's been updated. Given that we hope to have some answers from the Transportation Commission in December, our goal is to actually bring the full draft document through the TAC and the CAC with a request to release for public comment in December. And then our board of directors hopefully will give us permission to begin that public comment period in early January. If we receive that approval, our public comment period would last approximately January 9th to February 9th, which would allow us tentatively to have a formal document adoption by the board of directors on February 12th, which would put us 12 days, obviously, beyond our goal of January adoption. That's kind of what we're shooting for right now and what we anticipate happening. If you do have any comments that or changes that you would like to see to any of the text made before that public release period, before the next TAC meeting, basically, if you could get that to me by like the 6th or the 9th of December, that would be ideal. That way we can actually implement the changes to get it into your TAC packet. In addition, we have, I think everybody here has been invited to the Regional Transportation Plan Advisory Committee, the RATPAC meeting. Our next meeting will be on the 9th of December in the afternoon here. And our goal with that meeting will be first to kind of give them an overview, a review of the LRTP draft document, and then also to ask them for some guidance, for some advice on our public comment period, how to best engage people, how to reach folks, if there's anything in our materials that is confusing that we could do a better job on. To be more friendly to the public, those kinds of questions. So that will be, again, December 9th. And if people can come, we would greatly appreciate that. Any other questions? Or Jacob, would you like to give a update on the transit and specialized transit plan or specialized transportation plan, which will, of course, be part of the LRTP packet?
A brief kind of update on that. So we are working alongside PPACG when it comes to getting the approvals on these. We are in the final stages. I apologize, my screen is very dark. We are in the final stages of kind of putting those edits in. And really right now it's primarily going through its ADA accessibility check and making sure that this is readable per WCAG. It's a standard that we follow for ADA accessibility. So that's kind of where we're at right now. We're very close to the finish line. That is anticipated to be done in the next few weeks to get all that kind of prettied up and then getting it out to the different committees for their review. In the meantime, we're looking to get a document out there for people's review in advance, so you're not waiting till later in December. So we're kind of tidying that up to get something out so people can kind of see where it's at right now and just making sure that we're getting that out for its review. We will run through the public process on that alongside the LRTP to make this simple and easy for just kind of congruency between all the different plans. So it's kind of where that stands. I don't know if anybody has any questions, but I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you. Any questions for Danelle or Jacob?
Madam Chair, not a question, but just a huge thank you to MMT for stepping up. We had a while there where we didn't have a dedicated trans employee here at PPACG, so Jacob and Allison and the whole team over at MMT stepped up and really helped with everything, and we can't thank them enough for all of their assistance.
Much
Great point, John.
appreciated, John.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep, MMT has always been a great partner in this long-range plan for us, so we appreciate your continued support. All right, any questions for Danelle on the schedule? I'll be looking forward to seeing what happens at that December Transportation Commission meeting.
Yeah, you and me both.
All right, looks like we have tip updates. I'm guessing Jess?
Yep, thank you, Jess Bechtel, tip planner. So just two quick updates. I am finishing up processing everybody's administrative modifications right now. So I really appreciate you getting those over to me so quickly. We had a good handful to get stuff cleaned up in there. So thank you. You guys will be CC'd on that email when it's sent off to CDOT to be put in the STIP. Other update is the call for projects for MMOF additional funds will be in January. We figured we'd wait and do it on the other side of the holidays. That way people are not stressing applications and review and things like that during time away. So that's the updates for the tip at the moment. That's all. Thanks.
Just out of curiosity, Jess, do we have a ballpark figure of what that MMOF call would be?
Yes. So there's about 1.6 million in MMOF spread across the 5 years of the tip. And so it's roughly around 300,000 in each year that will be available. So keep that in mind if you have projects that are close, if you have cost overruns, things like that. That's probably what the priority on that kind of funding is going to be, since it's not a huge amount. It's just enough that maybe might help someone get to.
So over the holidays, you make your list to Santa. Dear Santa, can I please have $300,000 of cookies and eggnog?
Yeah. Thanks.
Thanks, Justin. Thanks for processing those so quickly. I know I threw mine in at the last minute, so I appreciate your help in getting that done. So the next item is CDOT updates.
Thank you. This is Jeff Guthrie from Region 2 Planning. Kathleen sends her regards. She could not make it today, so there are no updates from headquarters. We do not, I believe, unless John or Rob have anything to say, have many Region 2 updates. I do appreciate, I'll echo the kudos to Mountain Metro for meeting with us yesterday to review through that projects list. The coordination is fantastic. And thanks also, as usual, to Jess for the tip and STIP update coordination and John for the education. But otherwise, there's no real updates unless Rob wants to step in.
Rob, are you stepping in?
I'm stepping in to say there's no additional Region 2 updates. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. Any questions for CDOT? All right, I'm betting I'm turning this over to Danelle for a very quick IIJH update. Probably going to talk about Raise and Protect grants.
That is correct, Victoria. Raise was the only NOFO that came out that since last time we've met. And that calendar is in your packet. There's also a new kind of funding pathfinder. It's kind of an interesting tool. I thought it was interesting, so I included it down there under the resources. tab, just in case it was useful for somebody. And that's about it.
Thanks, Danelle. Did you try out that infrastructure hub? I got the notice, but I didn't try it.
I did kind of go in there and played around with a little bit just to see what it had in it. It was very user friendly, which is why I thought it might be actually kind of useful. A lot of the grant stuff is a bit overwhelming because there is so much. Also, I will point out our grant navigator, Karen Rowe, is in the room here today. If anybody has any comments or questions for her, and she will also be presenting to our board in December on some of the progress that we've made in the past year. Thank you, Karen.
Yes, Karen's a great resource for us. Thank you for being part of our team. Any member entity announcements? We are a talkative group today. Okay, hearing none. I know we're going to have the LRTP on future meetings and funding updates, probably tip amendments going through. Any other things for December and January we want to keep our eye on? I know you guys are all long-range transportation plan right now.
So I will say I wanted to wait and make sure I didn't interrupt anybody. But I think at this point we have received our contracts from CDOT, and included in that was funding to move forward on a freight plan. If you recall, I think at the beginning of this year, I don't think it was last year, I think it was the beginning, it all runs together after a while. We did finish our freight study, which again, sort of was a SWOT analysis, looked at what we had, what we didn't have. This will be an actual freight plan. So we will be looking at more of the projects and trying to put the projects in some sort of priority order. So that way that they can move up into the state freight plan, as well as be a resource by which that the individual jurisdictions moving forward can cite their inclusion in that freight plan to go after grant funds and other applications for other sorts of funds. So that is again scheduled to be sometime in January. I know Jason's going to be putting together the RFP for that and putting it out to the consultant community. And I'm sure he will tap more than one of you to help with the consultant selection process. We additionally, within that contract, finally have the complete streets within the federal IIJA. There's a requirement for MPOs to set aside 3% or 2.5% of our funding for a complete streets document. We, again, within this contract, we have secured those funds, and in fact, we have already gone through the process and have procured Olson. Is that correct? Yep. We got a signed contract or not yet? So we've got a signed contract with Olson. So Olson will be helping us out with that complete streets requirement and meeting with you all. And again, the intent is for a toolbox sort of thing. It is not going to be something that is heavy-handed and has any sort of requirements, but rather tools for you all as jurisdictions to use in implementing what you want to do in your own jurisdiction. And that may also require not necessarily the traditional sort of thing. And again, because I know some jurisdictions would prefer to use some different nomenclature and approach it a little differently. And I think our intent is to honor that and make sure we have something that is useful for all members of the Pikes Peak region. So then moving in, again, Victoria, what you said about moving on from there, we'll start having discussions about, again, looking at where we go for what you would like to see in 2026, because believe it or not, it would not be too early to start making sure that we've set aside funding for any sort of thing. So if there's a different plan, for example, I know in the past we've talked about things like regionally significant routes sort of thing. Maybe given the political climate now, that's not maybe that's not towards the top of the list anymore, but we can certainly talk about what you guys want to see as priorities in the next long-range plan of 2055, because since we have to budget and set aside monies, next year will not be too early to do that, to make sure that the money get budgeted for 26 and 27, looking ahead to that 2055. So get thinking about things that you need, and you would hope that PPACGs would step up and provide, and we will certainly see what we can do.
Can I add two quick things to that?
Yes, please. Hey, Danelle, could you add like two quick things to
Please.
that?
So the first is that the Regional Safety Action Plan that was awarded under the Safe Streets and Roads for All grant will also be kicking off in early 2025. The project consultant has been selected, but I don't think the contract is in place yet, so I don't think we can announce who that is. But that will be coming out very soon. Also, at our statewide MPO meeting this month, there was an item talking about the Unified Planning Work Program, and FTA and FHWA just wanted to reiterate that any planning projects that utilize federal funding should be reflected in that UPWP. We include a section or an appendix in there with all of those projects. But if we will probably bring that back to the TAC just so that folks can take a look at it and make sure all of the projects that need to be in there are in there, so that we can amend that if we need to. I know that FTA in particular was making sure that the UPWPs reflected projects before they were awarding grant money. So that's another thing that may be coming back soon.
Thank you, Danelle and John. We appreciate that. All right. I don't think I've beaten Gail's record for quickest meeting, but we're pretty close. So thank you, everybody, and I'll see you next month.
Thanks, Victoria. Appreciate it.